point, I hope later today, but if not in the coming days, the Senate is going to pass a relief bill that I believe the House will also take up and pass. Something is going to happen. It's just taking way too long. That said, there is a piece of whatever happens that I'm pretty confident is going to be in there. In fact, I can virtually guarantee it because it's agreed to by a lot of people. It hasn't had a lot of controversy, and it makes all the sense in the world. And that is the piece that we've been negotiating for the better part of a week, especially over the last 72 hours in a negotiation that I led along with Senator Collins, with Senator Cardin of Maryland, and Senator Shaheen of New Hampshire. And that is how to help small businesses. So I'm getting a lot of calls, text messages, people are hearing about it. So I wanted to take a minute here and briefly explain, just top lines, from a 50,000 foot view, what this plan looks like and how it would help people. Now let me begin with our goal. Our goal was pretty straightforward. We have over 30 million small businesses in America. They are the first ones that are going to have to lay people off. They're being told by government they can't open. The government is telling their customers they can't leave their homes, and they certainly can't go to these places. So you're a small restaurant, you're a hotel, a small hotel, you're a bigger hotel really in many cases. You're a cafeteria, you're a mechanic shop, whatever it may be, people are being told they can't leave their homes, and they most certainly can't go and spend money with you. And so the first thing you have to do is lay people off because you have no money coming in. And so this is a big problem. It is, in my view, the single most urgent economic problem the country faces right now is we have paralyzed over 50% of our economy. And the jobs of close to, if not more than 60 million Americans. So here's what our plan does. Let me begin by saying, who does it help? So who qualifies for this? Well, any business in America that has 500 employees or less, or that is deemed a small business that fits the criteria of a small business under the criteria of the SBA. So it's either or. So if you have less than 500 employees and you're a business, you qualify. Or if you meet the criteria of the Small Business Administration, which actually has a different standard, it's more expansive because there are some businesses that might have more than 500 employees, but may still count as a small business because of the type of business that they're in. It's a huge long list. Obviously more details are available on the SBA website about who qualifies as a small business. But I would just say that, and it would take too long to explain in a video like this, but I would tell you that it's going to cover the vast majority of small businesses. This includes, by the way, first of all, there's no profession that disqualified. So if you're a dentist, you're not disqualified. If you're an optometrist, you're not disqualified. It doesn't really matter what line of work you're in per se for this purpose. Also covered are franchises. A lot of people don't realize, the sign on the door might say Marriott, but the hotel's not owned by Marriott. It's owned by an owner, sometimes a family, who has one or two hotels, but they're not the Marriott Corporation. Or you have a McDonald's. McDonald's isn't owned by the McDonald's Corporation. It's owned by sometimes a family. Same with gas stations. It says Shell, but it's not owned by Shell. It might be owned by a family. So it doesn't exclude franchises. In fact, we allow that. And sometimes people own more than one. Maybe you have 3 McDonald's, and between the 3 you have more than 500 employees, but you're not really a big business. Your margins are very tight. So it's a very expansive category that comes under it. Another group that doesn't qualify today for small business grants, but we include, are 501c3s. And basically all 501c3s with less than 500 employees. And the only exception are those in the medical field. And the reason why is because there's $75 billion being put into this bill, and another part of it, to reimburse the losses that we're seeing in some of these healthcare facilities. And the last is, and it's a big deal, is independent contractors, 1099ers, the gig economy, the people who work for themselves but aren't, they're also qualify for this. Now what do you get? This is pretty straightforward. You get 2.5 times, you are eligible to receive, and I hate to call it a loan, I'll explain why in a minute, but let's just call it a grant. You are eligible to receive 2.5 times your payroll as of the middle of February. Now, we also provide 2 other standards in case you are a business that's seasonal or you're a startup or whatever it may be. But bottom line is, just for purposes of this video, by and large, whatever your payroll cost was in the middle of February, you are eligible to receive an amount 2.5 times that, okay? So about 10 weeks worth of payroll. And then, as long as you spend the money that you receive on payroll or on benefits or on rent or lease for your business, as long as you spend the money on that, you will not have to pay any of that back. Now, if you take 10% of that money and spend it on something other than rent or payroll or whatever it may be, then that 10% turns into a loan a year from now. But you won't have to but you won't have to pay it back if you spend it on those three things. And the last key thing is, where will we go get this? Well, let me tell you where you're not going to go get it. You're not going to go to some tent somewhere and deal with a government bureaucrat on a clipboard or something like that after a hurricane. Number one is you're going to be able to go to banks. We're hoping virtually every bank in America, and a bunch of them are ready to go already because they're part of the 7A program, virtually any bank in America is going to participate. Credit unions. We've also opened it up so that Treasury can allow in financial technology companies, so people that can actually very quickly create a system, are already working on it now, to bring in, to do it with online, with an app and so forth. We want to make it as broad as possible because we want to make it as easy as possible for people to get this. And the goal here is to rapidly, quickly provide a cash infusion. There's no front-end credit check. All you have to prove is you're a real business or a real 1099 employee. You have payroll. Here's what my payroll was. You receive the money, and a year from now, you're going to have to show I spent it on payroll. I spent it on rent and lease. I spent it on the allowable things. And if you do that, you're not going to have to pay any of it back. If you spend part of it on something that's not one of those things in that category, then that turns into a loan. Beginning a year from now. So the goal here, as I said, is to get money into the hands of small business as quickly as possible so that today they don't have to lay people off, so that they don't, or if they've laid people off, they can bring them back. This is great for the worker to keep people employed, but this is also important for our economy because many of these businesses who close down are not going to be able to reopen if they do not have a way to at least keep their payroll and their staff connected to them during this difficult period. And of course, helping people in the gig economy, helping 1099ers. There are a lot of people out there right now working under those circumstances. There are people right now that are employees and in the gig economy. So their employer will be able to do this if it's a small business, and they'll also be able to get assistance through this because it's very difficult for someone in the gig economy, in many cases impossible, to use the unemployment system. We have strong bipartisan support for this. This is going to be a part of something just like this, very, very similar, maybe minor details here or there, is going to be a part of the final bill here, and I believe is going to be the final bill when it passes overall. But we have to get this done as soon as possible so that small businesses do not have to keep laying people off and do not have to live in fear on a daily basis. Thank you for listening.